The objective of Islam Awareness Week is to convey the message of Islam and what it has to offer, as well as to address common misconceptions related to Islam. The event is titled The Purpose of Life, a Simple Truth, as it will offer a meaningful perspective on the purpose of life. The scholars joining us this evening will focus on important aspects related to the purpose of life, such as the simplicity of the truth, the existence of God, the concept of monotheism, Islam as a complete and balanced lifestyle, and a way towards internal happiness and eternal success.
وذكر فإن الذكر So inshallah ta'ala, with the permission of God, today we're going to talk about 4 basic things, and hopefully in my talk, each section I'm hoping it'll be about 15 minutes, which will be about 1 hour. So, but before I begin, I'd like to just get a show of hands of how many friends came here today that don't know that much about Islam. Okay, I myself was sitting in a lecture hall many moons ago. How many moons ago? Many. Just like you, with a whole bunch of questions, not knowing too much about Islam. And as they say that when you ask questions, sometimes you get the answers. So my topic today, the brothers asked me to talk about, why is the truth simple rather than complicated? Is there a creator? The natural state of a human being, and what does worship mean in Islam, and what is worshiping Allah? So before I begin, the first topic, or the first section, is the section of truth. And as for myself growing up, seeing so much confusion, seeing many of my family members involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, I used to always sit and watch and study people, listen to what they say, and I used to listen to what they say and watch what they do, and see if their words and their actions came together. And this is something that not everybody has that skill set to sit and watch people and to just look at them and just analyze them and say, brother, how you feeling? Good? You feeling good, brother? You guys are comfortable? I'm comfortable too. So let us begin with some statements, and there's a very famous statement that George Orwell, anybody know who George Orwell is? Okay, how many hands are up? Oh, everybody knows George Orwell, okay. He made this very beautiful statement, and I liked it very much, so I actually put it in my lecture. He said, truth, it is the new hate speech. Truth, it is the new hate speech. During times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. That's profound what he said. And as you know, right now, living here in North America, and my background in college when I was studying there before I dropped out of college, was public relations, studying the media. And everybody here, do you believe everything that you hear or see in the media? Put up your hand. In high school in Toronto, they still have in the books that Christopher Columbus discovered North America. What a fallacy. So, as he goes on to say, often the last thing someone wants to hear is the truth. For not only can the truth heal, it can illuminate the truth, can destroy all fallacy in a person's perception. Also, he went on to say that the truth can burn a person's foundation to the ground or lift it from the ashes. So these are some very profound statements. Now, what do we do with statements like this? Oh, that's an interesting statement. Oh, I think it's a brownie point. No, you have to sit there. When people make profound statements, the profound minds, what do? They sit and they try to understand deeply, reflecting on what they said. So, From that, there's what some people call absolute truth. From the things that are absolute truth is that Toronto has a better hockey team than Vancouver. Is that true? Huh? That's false. Okay. From the absolute truth, everybody will die. Is that true? Yes or no? From the absolute truth, everybody will pay taxes. From the absolute truth, the guys that are sitting on this side are more handsome than the guys on that side. Is that true? Yes or no? Okay, so, truth which is true in accordance with fact and reality. This is what one definition says. It's a simple question, but some find it hard to answer. So, there was a movie, and my memory is not that good. I think maybe the movie was called A Few Good Men, I'm not sure, but Tom Cruise was in the movie and Jack Nicholson. And there's a part in that movie, I remember watching it with my mom as I was visiting her, and Tom Cruise said to Jack Nicholson, "I want the truth! I want the truth!" And Jack Nicholson, what did he say? Help me. You can't handle the truth. So, we're living in a time right now that sometimes when the truth comes right in front of your face, because of the times that we're living in now, and as you know, a little bit south of the border, there's a place called Hollywood, where they can make women put on super suits and defeat a whole Russian army, 900 men, 2 women beat up. Is this the truth? But I seen it on a Hollywood show. That women are powerful, and they are powerful, but they're powerful from the mind, the body, and the soul. Who agrees to that? That's right. So, let's move on now. Just because something is said on the radio does not mean that it is true. Like we said before. Toronto's basketball team is better than Vancouver. Oh, you guys don't have a basketball team. Okay. So we have a better basketball team. And that's in print, that we have a better basketball team, even though I'm not a fan of the Toronto Raptors. We usually go to the games to see the other team play. Because they have the superstars, and we have the garbage players. So anyways, there is some beautiful points that we want to try to understand. When I was a young boy, one of my teachers told us a story called 7 Blind Men. Anybody ever heard the story about 7 blind men before? Okay, you have 3, 4, 5 people. So from what I remember, the 7 blind men, they had a chance to go and touch an elephant. They're blind. And each of them came at a different part of the elephant. And then after touching the elephant, they were asked to describe the elephant. So the first man said that it is sharp. The second man said it's rubbery. The third man said it's soft. The fourth man said it's coarse. The fifth man said it's round. The sixth man said it's hairy. And the last man, the seventh man, said it's tall. The tusks, the ears, the feet, the belly, the head, and many other parts. It all comes down to limited observation. So for a person such as myself, when I accepted Islam, I couldn't taste Islam. I couldn't see Islam. I couldn't hear Islam until I went around the Muslims. Now I want everybody to understand one thing here. You have Islam on one side, and you have the Muslims on the other side. So my question is, are there good Muslims? Are there bad Muslims? Okay, so good Muslims and bad Muslims are on one side, and Islam is on the other side. And I myself, over the years, I've found that most of the Muslims, they don't even really understand what Islam really is. And I've challenged many, many Muslims to explain to me what Islam is. Anybody know what Islam is? I'll give you $5 if you can tell me the classical description of what Islam is. Anyway, yes, sister. Okay, a little bit more. That's not bad. Al-Islamu huwa al-istislamu lillahi tawheed. Islam is the complete submission and surrender to Allah, wa khalusa min ash-shirk, and to make bara, to make disavowment of the opposite, which is polytheism. And as you know, Islam is a religion of monotheism, or what is it? Who do we worship? Because my neighbor came out to me one time, and he said to me, "What are these fancy pajamas that you're wearing? Do you sacrifice your lamb in these pajamas?" And I said, "No, I'm not wearing pajamas, I'm wearing a thobe." He said, "A robe?" I said, "No, I'm Muslim, not Christian. We call it a thobe, not a robe." So perception is very important. Who here thinks that my kufi is the funkiest kufi in the whole world? Who here is wearing the kufi except for me? Nobody. But see, this all comes down to understanding the truth and realizing it. So when we look at it, there are some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful things that we have to look at. And concerning the truth, and anybody here, have they ever heard the Arabic language before? That's not Muslim? Not Muslim. Not Muslims, have you heard the Arabic language before? I myself have made it my life goal to try to master the language. And I'm not doing very good at it, but I'm spending lots of time trying to do that. So there's two beautiful verses in the Quran that when I first became Muslim, I read those verses. And those verses were talking about truth. And the language, the linguistic ability of the creator who wrote this book, if you understand the grammatical structure of the verses, you can taste the fruit of it. So I'll quote them. Allah Ta'ala goes on to say, maybe Shaykh Abdurrahmann helped me with the translation because I wasn't able to write it out. وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتَقْتُمُوا الْحَقَّ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. So Allah Ta'ala says, and do not clothe the truth with falsehood. Yeah, and do not hide the truth, even when you know. So people from my own family, they have told me there is no God. There's only me. I am God. I said, how can you be God? Did you give birth to yourself? Has anybody ever given birth to themselves before? Have you given birth to your parents? I mean, it may seem funny, but then we have people that they have these mindsets that they think that, you know what? The world is centered around me. I'm the man, or I'm the woman. I call the shots. If you're not in my intimate recess in terms of my ability to communicate and you can't articulate, then you're unworthy to be in my presence. Here we have people here, who here is working on their BA? Okay, who here is working on their master's? Okay, who here is working on their PhD, or has a PhD? Okay, I like the people that have a BA and a master's. The people that have PhDs, we found them. I don't know about Vancouver, it might not be the same, but in Toronto, the people that do have PhDs, we've understood that they're permanently head damaged. I know all the facts. What can you teach me? I have a PhD. I'm a doctor. I remember one Muslim brother, I met him, and I was trying to explain to him the law of the streets in terms of the turf war. And he said, it doesn't make any sense. And he's giving me all this rhetoric and all this philosophy. And I'm like, look, Ahmed, Professor Ahmed, you have to understand this. This is how it is. This is how it is. It doesn't make sense. It's not rational. It doesn't equate and calculate. And I'm like, look, you go down in the street, and if you walk down the wrong area at the wrong time, even if you're not a drug dealer, you could get shot. Equate that. Equate and put it in your head. Can you understand that? You'll stop and you'll die. So for him, he looked at the situation, and he was like, he started to swear at me. And I said to him, I said, you know what? Your English is better than mine. Your vernacular is better than mine. Your arguments are stronger than mine. But your swear words are worse than mine. I'm sorry, Mr. Professor, I will never sit in your class. Because, as I said, don't listen to people that have nothing good to say. Anybody have a moment like that? That's right. And one of my teachers, he said that if your teacher doesn't treat you right, they'll never ever teach you right. So one of the things that Islam teaches is that when truth comes, you have to know that falsehood will perish. As Allah Ta'ala says, وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَحَقَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. That to say that the truth has come and falsehood has vanished, surely falsehood is ever bound to vanish. So now getting a little bit more serious with this situation, we want to move on to the most powerful statement that changed my life as a Muslim. Who here believes that there is no God? Put up your hand. Okay. So 3 people here, they believe that statement. Okay. That's partially true. As a Muslim here, every single one of us believes that partially. And this is the statement, La ilaha. This is the statement that changed the whole world. It changed Arabia. It changed my heart. When this statement hit my heart, there is no God. And then the statement goes, Illallah, except and only Allah. And then this statement in the Arabic language is extremely powerful because it has affirmation and it has negation. Meaning that there is nothing that is worthy. There's nothing that is acceptable of your servitude and your enslavement except to Allah. And when we say this statement, we're going to prove it. Let me ask you guys a question. Who would like to live in a universe with God? Put up your hand. Or without God? If you were a betting person, imagine now you had, I don't know, you guys got big casinos out here in Vancouver, I'm sure you do. $50,000. I'm going to bet to say there is a God. Some people say, nah, I'm going to bet against God. But now the earthquake comes and it shakes you up. What's the first thing you guys are going to say? Oh my God! You're going to say that. Naturally, it's in you. It's intrinsically in you. It's in your flesh. It's in your blood. And the Quran goes on to say that when they're capsized in the middle of the ocean and the boat collapses and they have a little winky-dinky plank that they're holding on to and there's nobody there, there's no CNN to come and help you. There's no army or navy to help you. You're out in the middle of the ocean. It has been tested over and over again. The people say, oh my God, God, help me. Realizing that as a human being, you're limited in your ability to function, your ability to help yourself. I had an uncle who had a heart attack. At one time, we used to call him Superman. He could do 500 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, run around the block. He was very muscular. But one day, he had a heart attack. So Superman in our circle collapsed and he died. I'm going to collapse and I'm going to die. Are you going to collapse and die one day, brother? Or you should. Who here from amongst my friends that said that they don't believe in God thinks that they're going to live forever? I mean, we had a guy, a very famous guy, a very famous dancer, right? I don't want to dance because you guys might put it on YouTube. I want to dance at home. A guy named Michael Jackson. He used to sleep in a hyperbolic chamber for many years. And eat good food and breathe in oxygen. Everybody knows that, right? For how many years did he do that? 20 plus years. Where's Michael Jackson? And I think, if my memory is correct, I think it's the guy from Walt Disney or Disney's World. I think they put him in some type of status where they froze his body, hoping that the scientists are going to come and come with some new technology and revive him. Well, according to biblical scriptures, Jewish scriptures, Islamic scriptures, there have been people in the past who've lived past 200 years of age, 500 years of age, 1,000 years of age. Where are they now? Where are they? I'm asking. Okay. So my question is to you guys, again, if you're a betting person, is this the only life? Is this it? You're born in your mother's womb. You grow to only about 5'9". You want to be 7 foot tall, but God made you 5'9". You wanted to be a person who had millions of dollars, but you only have $5 in your pocket. Now that sister, I guess I got to give her $5. on top of that now, the question comes, is there more to life than what my existence is? And I've asked many people before, being a chaplain in the Don jail for 5.5 years, I would estimate I've probably talked to probably at least 1,000 inmates, Muslim and non-Muslim. And I've asked them, what's the purpose of eating? What's the purpose of eating? Energy to stay alive, nutrition. Is that right? Everybody agrees to that? Can we get a show of hands here? Is that right? Look around, everybody look around. I mean, hey, come on, you guys gotta be unanimous. A show of hands, okay? Where's my friend over here? What's the purpose of sleeping? What's the purpose of sleeping? Yes? To get rest, recuperation. Who agrees with that? Okay, let's show of hands, everybody, check it around. Okay, what's the purpose of dressing nice? Why do we dress for? That's what I tell my wife. But she says I don't look good. What's the purpose of dressing? To shelter yourself from the elements, is that right? Because I mean, if I came out here and I wasn't wearing any clothes, you'd be, oh my gosh. Same with you guys, I don't want to see you guys. So the purpose of dressing is to keep yourself, is that right? Everybody put up your hand. Okay, what's the purpose of wearing shoes? Why do I wear shoes? Was I born with shoes? Yes or no? You have just won $5 million, but you have to pray first, and then there'll be some food, and then you can continue your lecture. Can I get the $5 million first? So, like the brother said here, we have an intermission. So, right now we're taking time. They cut me off, I'm sorry. They're going to have to let me come and see the Toronto Maple Leafs play against the Vancouver. What's your team called? The Limousines, the Canucks, the Burn Down City. What's it called? I'm from Toronto. You know I got to give you guys some love, right? Listen, if we lost the Stanley Cup, I think we burned the arena. Not the city.
We'll have a brief intermission where you can pick up some free pastries right outside the lecture room. The boys are so the brothers will be going to the right, the sisters will be going to the left. And we'll ask you to return to the lecture room immediately after picking up your food. And we'll continue with the second portion of this program. Assalamu alaikum. Now we're going to continue the lecture. The volunteers are going to be around carrying the cue cards. If you want to ask any questions, you can write your question on the cue card and give it to the volunteers. And now we will continue the lecture.
Unpause. Okay. Where were we? We were at shoes. What's the purpose of wearing shoes? Protect your feet. Everybody agree? Okay. What's the purpose of a toothbrush? Say it again? Protect your teeth. Or hygiene. Okay. What's the purpose of a cell phone? To get in a car accident. No, that's not the answer. What's the purpose of a cell phone? Communicate. Okay, I can ask you guys at least 1,000 more questions like this, and I guarantee you everybody's going to put up their hand. What's the purpose of socks? What's the purpose of deodorant? What's the purpose of scrambled eggs? What's the purpose of combing my hair? Which I don't have that much left of the shit. I can ask you 1,000 questions. And I've talked to so many people, everybody gives the same answer. Guaranteed. But when I ask one question, where's my friend? Here he is. What's the purpose of life? Okay, so he has a different answer. What about you, Madame? I think you're not even talking. What's the purpose of life? Hey, just guess. If you don't know, then you're actually in a good position. You just don't kind of like, what is the purpose?
I'm here.
That's good. How about the girl in the red? What's the purpose of life?
I agree with my friend down here.
Okay. How about this young lady here? What's the purpose of life? purpose of life? Okay, this is kind of what you said. What's the purpose of life? Okay, no Muslims can answer the question. No Muslims. You guys all failed. All the Muslims, you failed. We're doing dialogue here, not dialogue. Nobody asked for dialogue. We're doing dialogue. So, here I am in the jail. Got this big, huge guy come to the prison one time. He was crying. Crying and crying and crying. Big, huge guy, like 6'4". So we're in a little area, maybe about this big, in the dark jail. This is maybe about 10 years ago. And he's huge, hulking like the Hulk. Or like Daniel Sedin. You guys didn't catch that joke. You guys didn't catch that joke. You know who Daniel Sedin is? He's not a Hulk, right? So anyways, he starts crying in my class. And I'm like, why are you crying? He goes, what you just said, it opened up my mind. I said, what is it that I said? Because you asked me these questions. What's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of that? What's the purpose of that? Because I started thinking. So the question is the purpose of life to drive a red Corvette? Yes or no? Is the purpose of life to play basketball for the LA Fakers? No. Is the purpose of life to play hockey for the Vancouver Canucks? Is that why you were created? No. I can ask a million questions. And I've heard people go, oh, the purpose of life is to be a movie star. The purpose of life is to be a professor at the University of British Columbia. 2 years a professor at the British Columbia University. So all these different answers. So how is it that all these other things, clothing, food, dressing, everybody has the same answer, but the most important answer, what's your purpose of your existence? I think it's to get a fancy manicure, and I think it's to put red hair in my beard, and I think it's to wear a green kufi, and I think it's, everybody got their own answers. But now here comes the question. Here comes the question. Are you guys ready? Are y'all ready? Yeah. There's no enthusiasm, man. You guys are boring me. Getting bored now. Y'all ready? Yeah! Alright. The Quran, when I read it for the first time, there was a question in there. It took me a few days to just sit and think about it. It blew me away. Anybody knows what it means to be blow you away? It means that you're just totally dumbfounded. You're just like in this state where your brain is like trying to calculate. Can't come up with any answer. Here's the question that Allah asks. أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمْ خَالِقُونَ أَمْ خَلَقُوا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بَلْ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. Very hard. This is in chapter 52, verse 35 and 36. The creator of the heavens and the universe, he said, asking mankind, saying to mankind, were they created from nothing? Just think about that question. Were you created from nothing? Where did you come from? Where did you originate from? Did you just appear? What's your name? What's your name? Armin. So Armin just came out of nowhere. Were you created from nothing?
I don't know.
You don't know? You have parents, right? Huh? Where'd they come? Where'd they come? No, right? So the question comes, were humankind, were they created from nothing? The answer is, what were you created from? That's the first question. The second question is, did they themselves create themselves? Harmony. I'm speaking of you because you like that strong muscles. Did you give birth to yourself?
No.
You didn't give birth to yourself?
No.
You sure? Okay. You sure? Even if I force a gun to your head and I say, did you give birth to yourself? You're going to say no, right? Okay, everybody agrees he didn't give birth to himself, right? Girl in the red, did he give birth to himself? Did you guys give birth to himself? Anybody here give birth to himself? I know I didn't give birth to myself, that's for sure, because I got my mom's looks and she's really beautiful. And the last question is, or did they create the heavens and the earth? And then God goes on to say, yet they are unaware. So show him first of all, Were they created from nothing? And the next question is, were they themselves creators? And then the third one is, the heavens and the earth, did you create that? Who created the heavens and the earth? No one. All right. I'm going to do it for you. All right. Whatever skills you possess, anybody have any skills here? Anybody have any skills here? Who here put together these fancy, pink, beautiful, fat, flavored, delicious muffins? Who made these? Oh, mashallah, no, I ordered sister. These used to be my favorite, but now when I eat these, I can't run around the block anymore, so I have to do these. So these were created by somebody. They were put together by somebody, right? So whatever skills you have, whatever thinking ability you have, however you're able to come and build it, there's a verse in the Quran that says this. Wallahu khalaqakum wa ma ta'malun. Allah, He created you and what you do. So from that, my question is this. Who is the creator of creation? That's a question. Who is the designer of designs? That's a question. Who is the mover of all movements? That is a question. Is it not someone who's intelligent? An example for this is, what is the biggest industry here in Vancouver besides Vancouver? What's the biggest business here? Who employs the most people here? Huh? The lumber industry? Yeah, you guys got trees. We don't have trees like that in Toronto. We got
Real estate.
Real estate. You guys have real estate here? You guys have a word like that in Vancouver? Real estate. Ah, okay. So here's the thing. Planning and preparation. When was the first car put together? The first car. And when was that? How many years ago was that? Huh? Early 1900s? Is that right? Okay. Have they improved upon building the cars? Are the cars faster and better and stronger than the cars they were before? More efficient, more smarter? Yes or no? Okay. So my question is this. The person who built the first car industry and all the other car industries, as you know, there's the boss who runs the show. He has his subordinates. He has his managers, he has his VIPs, he has his employees. So he has a huge infrastructure of 1,000 freight of cars and trucks that are delivered that bring in different parts. So imagine now, who's governing and organizing that whole industry? Can it run by itself? No. Can't run. Are you sure? They got new computers now that computers can build the car all by itself. Can you do it? Have you seen that? They have computers that build the cars. Is that right? But guess what? Someone has to turn on the light. Someone has to press the button. Is that right? Okay. So, how can the universe run itself? This university here, that is run by the president, run by the people, organized, bringing everybody here, having the chairs, putting all the effort. Just look at this room. How much effort it took to build this place. Did it come by itself? So what about the universe that is much more spectacular than that? That's a question that I'm asking everybody to think about. Also, we find that there's things that exist that maybe 100 years ago, we never even considered them because with our naked eye, which is one of the senses, we couldn't understand. From amongst them. Gravity. Anybody ever seen gravity before? But I know if I jump off this, I'm going to fall back down. I'm not Superman. Now there's the white house. Not Superman. So what jumps up must fall down. So that's gravity. Has anybody ever seen any gravity before? Yes or no? Does it exist? Yes or no? Yes. Put up your hand if gravity exists. Okay, gravity exists. All right. Next one on the list is microbes. Anybody ever seen a microbe before? Microbe. You seen it? You seen it with your naked eye, sister?
Naked eye with a microscope.
Microscope. When did microscopes come along?
200 years ago.
Okay. So you couldn't see it without the help of an enhancing it. Right? That's why I put my head in my beard. It makes me look more handsome. Enhancing it, right? Okay. Parasites. Can you see a parasite? With your naked eye? Huh? Okay. What about enzymes? Enzymes. You can't see with the naked eye, right? came very far from Toronto, and I have a message, and I was hoping that the people would listen to me. So if you guys have a message, you can come down and share it with us too. Please don't hurt my feelings. Listen to my lecture. Very, very one thing. Okay, the last one is electrons. Can you see electrons? So here's the thing now. Can we prove these things? How? How can you prove these things exist? I don't believe it. How? What evidence? What kind of evidence? I'm asking you. You said evidence. Any of them. How would you prove? Just prove one of them. I can't see it. I can't feel it. I can't touch it. I can't taste it. I wouldn't want to taste the microbe. That's for sure. Probably do it though, right? How do you do that?
Well, with the bacteria, you just use a microscope.
Okay. And if you need a microscope, how would you do it?
So you can't.
Yeah. Can't see it.
You don't have evidence of it.
So you believe it, though. You believe it with your ears? You believe it with your ears? That there's a microbe, an enzyme? You believe it with your eyes? Okay. Well, okay. Can you believe it with your heart? You can't believe it with your heart. Come on, your intellect. You believe it with your intellect. Okay. There's a beautiful verse in the Quran again that challenges everybody here. I'm going to read that. Allah Ta'ala goes on to say, قُلْ هُوَ الَّذِي أَنْشَأَكُمْ وَجَعَلَ لَكُمْ السَّمْعَ وَأَبْصَارَ وَأَفْئِدَةَ قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. Allah Ta'ala goes on to say, it is He who has produced you, and He has given you the ability of hearing, of seeing, and then they translate the word into heart or intellect, but little gratefulness do you do. So my question, or you give. So my question is, if God was to take your eyesight away, or if your eyesight is taken away, for those who don't like God, who can give it back to you? Any doctor can give it back to you? It's been taken away. How about your hearing? If your hearing was taken away from you, is there any doctor, even with the apparatuses that they can put in your ear, but if it was decided that your hearing was gone, is there anybody that can give it back to you? Yes or no? If I drop dead here, Sheikh Abdurrahmann comes and puts CPR on me, the rest resuscitates me, right? But for some reason,
missing the bus.
I know I was on the order before I left. Yeah, he had me, but he actually told us he had to leave earlier. So what was that saying? What was the one I was trying to do? Say it again? Right, so when you're dead, when you're dead, and some people come back to life, can anybody bring you back to life? Where do you go? You cease to exist. Where are you going from here? Where are you headed? Is this all that there is? These are a few questions. I have at least another 10 pages of a lot of scholastical arguments. Some of them are really deep, that take a lot of pondering and comprehending. But sometimes they say that when you give too much content, you push your audience out. So from here, anybody here, from hearing some of the information that we have, is the brain now starting to ask some more questions? Because that's where I was. 24, 25 years ago, I started looking at a picture at the wall that my mom had, and she said, "That's God!" And I'm like, but how could that be God when at grandma's house, God looks different? He's a different color. I started asking questions. God is black, God is white, God is yellow, God is green. Oh gosh. How many gods are there? How many gods are there? Are there gods? Okay. In the United States of America, they have a very fancy, beautiful bill. On the back of the bill it says, "In God we trust." Which God is that? That's my question. That's the government below saying, "In God we trust." Are there different types of gods? Some say that Beyonce is the goddess of beauty, and she has a beautiful voice, and she's been enlightened to be on the earth with us. She's a goddess. Who believes in that? I know. How about Nike? Anybody know what Nike stands for? Huh? The goddess of victory. Okay? There's people that worship many different things. And the last part of my lecture was talking about servitude and why Muslims worship. For us, we really believe, and it makes the most sense on every level, the two verses in the Quran where Allah Ta'ala said, Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mimati lillahi rabbil alamin. Say, my praying and my sacrificing of the animals, my living and my dying are all for God, who's Lord of all the world. That's the first verse. The second verse is, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونِ. I have not created the spirit kind or the mankind except to worship. And this is why for us, the main purpose, I could be a superstar runner for the BC Lions, is that your team? Is that right? I could do that. That's a side thing. But the reason why that I was put on this earth, why God Almighty put me here, my existence wasn't to be, that's not the main reason. To come to school, to learn something. These are all very beneficial things. But is that really the reason why you were put on this earth? To make $50 million and then die and give it to the Chihuahua Society of America so the Chihuahuas can eat big biscuits instead of small biscuits? That's one thing I did. Is that the reason why you're here? So these are just a few questions, and as Sheikh Abdurrahmann is here, I want to know, is there anybody here that's here right now that has at least learned one thing here while they've been here today? Something new. Nobody learned anything. Oh my gosh. Has anybody here had a spark that says, you know what, let me look into this a little bit more? Put it there. Okay, so we have a few people here. Anybody here said, you know what, this guy's cool, but sometimes he acts like a fool. Put up his hand. That's what my wife says all the time. Okay? Anybody here would like to get in a bigger dialogue, more discussion with someone like you? Okay, so we can maybe exchange our emails and our phone numbers. Like I said, they asked me to write a thesis statement, but at the same time, I'm not a boring guy. I like to entertain. What it's called entertaining. You heard that before, right? So that's what we try to do, because I don't want you guys saying, no, the speakers are boring. Let me bring the speakers from Toronto back. We love our speakers from Vancouver. So with that, we like to say to everybody, thank you for coming today. And I'd like to turn it back over to the presenters. And hopefully, check out the Rahman, inshallah, add and elaborate a few more points that I can get a chance to finish.
We will now continue with the second lecture of the evening by Abdurrahmann Murad. We'll have volunteers come down in the rows to collect your question cards. Please pass your cards towards the end of the rows to be picked up. We will pick up any additional cards at the end of the second lecture. Sheikh Abdurrahmann was born and raised in Vancouver, Canada. He completed high school a number of IT courses there and pursued his Islamic studies at Imam University, Riyadh, completing his Arabic and Sharia Islamic law studies here. He taught various subjects in Islam while in Riyadh. Sheikh Abdurrahmann has also worked in Dawah offices with Islamic websites and Jum'ah magazines as translators and editors. Sheikh Abdurrahmann counsels new Muslims and has devised programs for understanding Islam. He has been a group leader of Hajj pilgrimage and has produced educational programs for all that as well. Sheikh Abdurrahmann has translated and written numerous works, many of which are in print, among them a book on the laws of inheritance, on which subject he has also delivered courses, as well as dividing estates in Canada, USA, and Saudi Arabia. He's currently the director of Darul Madina Islamic Society in Vancouver, where he resides with his wife. His hobbies include camping, badminton, and of course reading. Sheikh Abdurrahmann brings us a wealth of experience in Islamic education, and a great pleasure to have him with us tonight. I'll hand it to Sheikh Abdurrahmann.
Attention span of any one individual, not go beyond half an hour, 45 minutes, but honestly I really enjoyed and loved the talk given by our dear brother Abu Shahadah. It was really enlightening for myself as well, and I hope it was the same for you all. I just want to touch on a few points. And I don't want to take your time up. I know maybe you want to go home, you're a bit tired, and maybe you have other things to do as well. So I just want to touch on 2 points, 2 interesting points, that may maybe give you some enlightenment in the area of death, and also with happiness in the life of any one of us, over here in North America or elsewhere. So the first thing, and this is something that I found quite interesting, looking into the issue of death. If you look into it, type in Wikipedia, wherever else, type in the word death and do a search. You're going to find so many different things. And amongst the things that will come up is that how you can avoid death, or a cure for aging, because people are looking at aging as a disease. So they think it's a curable disease that one day in the course of our history we'll come across something that will prevent us from aging the way that we age. So we look into it. Throughout the course of history, we've had people searching for the answer to this one question: how can you stop aging? How can you remain youthful and young and strong and healthy without having any of the effects of aging itself? So you have, in the past, maybe you've heard about it, or I'm sure you've read it, or seen it in the movies, the search for the fountain of life. I know it's a bit of a comical thing, but nonetheless, there have been people looking for something like this, a search for the fountain of youth, the fountain of life, in present-day North America, as well in other parts of the world too, where they're looking for something like this. And you have people, in the Middle Ages as well, putting together these potions and elixirs, whatever else, that they thought maybe would help someone become younger. Today, people have Viagra, where they think that this will actually reverse the process, but, although not exactly, but nonetheless, I mean, it does, people believe to a certain extent that, well, to make them young and whatever else. So in that regard, this issue of preventing aging, this is something that we know as Muslims embrace, that it's something inevitable. We can't stop it. It's something that God has decreed upon us. Everyone, as they age, they'll get to a certain point where they're going to hit that moment in life where they're going to drop dead and pass on. For a Muslim, this life is not the only thing. Now imagine if it was. It would be so unfair. We've seen, every one of us, in the course of the media, mass murderers. People gone up in killing sprees, killing. I was reading about mass murderers, it's not the last week. There was a person who killed close to, I believe, 100 or more than 100 children in parts of South America. And basically, he just got a jail term, he's out, he'll be out pretty soon. All those children who suffered, were killed and cannibalized even. Basically, what happened to them? The families are suffering, and this guy is in prison, having 3 square meals, enjoying the coziness of his cell. Afterwards, he comes out a free man. A clean record, basically. He does whatever he wants again. So you've got people like this. If it was the only thing, this life had no, you can say, second segment or anything else after this realm, the worldly realm, it will be very unfair. People are wrong, corruption is spread, and yet injustice is done. As a Muslim, we believe this life is not the only thing. So with death comes the next segment. After it, we believe there's life in the grave. And then after that, we have the afterlife, where a person will be resurrected before God, and they will be held accountable for what they did. Punished in an everlasting torment, or granted a blissful life for time immemorial. So it's something that we should keep in mind. I mean, if it was the only thing, if this life was the only thing, that would be so unfair. But, God is great. God is very fair. People might think, well, if you're saying that we'll be resurrected, there's life after death, how can that be? Basically, we'll turn to soil and dust, and that will be the end of us. God mentions to us in the Quran, a verse, I'm going to share with you. He says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي يَبْدَأُ الْخَلْقَ ثُمَّ يُعِيدُهُ وَهُوَ أَهْوَنُ عَلَيْهِ وَلَهُ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. And it is He who begins the creation. And He then repeats it, recreates. And this is even easier for Him. Of course, to create something from nothing, that is difficult. But to create something from something, that's easier for God, no doubt. To Him belongs the highest attribute in the heavens and earth, and He is exalted in might and wise. So, we believe in this belief firmly. We believe that if you live your life in this world according to the laws that are given to us by God, you live a very blissful life, a pleasant life, no problems. Society will be very peaceful, no wars, nothing. But when people drift away from that godly path and they enter the realm of secularism, you're going to have people causing problems and wars, death, whatever else, all that will result in a wrong fashion. God tells us, من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فنحيينه حياة طيبة. Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, that means upholding the commands of God, we will surely cause him to live a good life, a blissful life in this world and also in the next. Now, this blissful life, we've witnessed it in the past in the course of our Islamic history. We have documented Islamic history where there was a very peaceful existence amongst all, Christians, Jews, Muslims, no animosity, no hatred, people living in a very beautiful equilibrium. But when the law of God that we had was broken, we found that people were transgressing bounds. Even today, you might think, well, he's saying that Islam is perfect and that Muslims are perfect. I'm not saying Muslims are perfect. I'm saying that the laws of God in Islam, as we have it, they're perfect. But as Brother Abu Shahadah mentioned, that don't mix up between the two terms. Islam is something, Muslims are something else. People today, many of them, Muslims who uphold Islam in their own way, they're not true Muslims. Many of them hold cultural ideals of Islam. You'll find many of them in terms of women issues, marriage issues, whatever else, holding these very odd views. And the media picks up on these things immediately. Oh, look at these Muslims. They're all extreme. They're women haters. They're women beaters. And this is all very far from the truth. Islam is very clear in these issues. Very clear. And what we see Muslims doing today, many of them, it breaks the laws of Islam. Why do they do that? Well, they're ignorant. That's a reality. People are ignorant today. At times people are simply, so distant from the faith of Islam that they just want to achieve personal goals. They don't realize how important the next life is. So in that sense, we said that if you live your life according to Islam, you live a very blissful, happy life. The issue of pleasure in life and everything else, we have 7 things I want to share with you right now, and I'll end with this. 7 points that we have within Islam that will assure that you'll have a very pleasant life. The first, this is something that we take for granted, but for each point, I'm going to give you a verse from the Quran and also what some of the top psychologists today have said about these points. The first thing, avoid comparisons. At times you have a person, comparing himself immediately. Well, I have a Chevrolet, my friend has a Volvo, he has a Lexus. Why is it like that? Why can't I be like him? So with this comparison that's in the mind, the person will go out and about trying his best to become like an individual, no matter what the means are. Whether lawful, unlawful, to hurt someone, it doesn't matter. Allah tells us in the Quran, وَلَا تَمُدَّنَّ عَيْنَيْكَ إِلَى مَا مَتَّعْنَا بِهِ أَزْوَاجًا مِنْهُمْ زَهْرَةَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Do not look at others, desiring what they have. Be content with what you have. So don't compare yourself to anyone. Just be content with what you have. Praise God that you brought whatever you've received, and that's it. So if you're going with this in mind, you're not going to have much of a problem in terms of a psychological issue. We have over here people from Stanford University and other universities. They said focusing on your own personal achievement instead of comparing yourselves to others will lead to a greater satisfaction in life. That's no doubt. We have that in the Quran. The second point, smile even if you don't feel like it. We have this with our Muslim tradition. You've got to be positive. You've got to be optimistic. Never be pessimistic, never be negative. No matter what the case, you can be in a very dire situation. Everything upside down, calamities that have befallen you. But you've got to smile, you've got to be positive. Hold on to positivity. For here the Prophet told us, our Prophet, may Allah praise him, told us, do not think little of any good deed, even if it's just greeting your brother with a cheerful smile. He also said, to smile in the face of your brother is a charity. So these are this basic, teachings that we have from our Prophet, instructing us how to conduct ourselves in community. And you have, once again, here's a person named Diner. Sorry, that should be off. Okay. A person by the name of Diner has said it's very important that a person remain happy, see the possibilities, opportunities and success. Don't become pessimistic. So that's a very important thing. We have that as well. That will lead to a greater satisfaction in life. Number 3, make friends and treasure family. That's another important thing. We have that same instruction within the bounds of our religion to be happy, to make friends, to interact with others, to be a bit more social, and to keep family close. That's a very important thing. Another thing, say thanks like you mean it. You know, when you say thank you to someone, it does something good for you. Be grateful and really mean it. Sometimes you get someone saying, oh, thank you. And that's it. They don't really mean what they've said. And this is, you know, in the back of your mind, they might not actually thank you to begin with. But if you say thank you and actually mean it, and you put some effort into it, then in that case, yes, the person will feel satisfied. You yourself and the one who received it from you as well. You have as well, give charity out on the path of God. We believe that when you give something out that's so dear to you, you're going to feel that satisfaction of helping someone else. This is within the teachings of our prophet. Time and time again, he instructs us to give out on the path of God, to help others who are less fortunate. When you do that, you'll feel that satisfaction. The one who receives that gift will also have a sense of love for you as well, which will then strengthen the community even more. The next one, put money low on your list of priorities. People who value money so much, they're not going to be very happy people. They can become very rich, wealthy, affluent, but in the end, what happens is that they really suffer. I mean, anyone that we've seen that has become so affluent suddenly, they become sensitive to all those around them, suspicious of every other person, unable to actually interact properly as a human being in society. Whereas, if you have this in a low priority, it's not something that's so important, you will be able to interact, to feel that, you know, to form friends, to live a better life in general. So these are amongst the things that we have within the Quran, which is the revelation of God, in the Sunnah, the prophetic issues, that we treasure, that we hold dear to ourselves. We believe firmly that a person will receive greater satisfaction when they turn towards God and uphold this faith, because everything that is good is embodied in this religion. And I'll stop with this, I don't want to go further, but I hope that you benefited in general from the talks. I don't want to keep you any longer. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them.
Oh, I just wanted to say we only answer questions that are tricky questions. And we only answer questions that are pertaining to the lecture.
So now the one here will be picking up question cards from you. So.
Does there have to be a reason for life?
Well, we believe yes. And as Abu Shahadah mentioned, the verses from the Quran, that we believe that we are here for a purpose, and that is to worship God alone. If you don't have that purpose in life, and you're simply existing, what's the difference between you and anything else that's created, basically? We have, you know, other life forms that are over here on the earth. If you're all simply existing, then what's your purpose over here? Did you just come from nothing? And of course, I mean, these are things that you should think of in general. As a Muslim, we do have a clear answer for this. But all I can tell you is that if you're still somewhat in doubt, use this lecture as a beginning point where you can look into these issues further. And I ask God to open your heart and that you see things more clearly after this session.
Okay, I'll answer this next question. Do you really believe Toronto's teams are better? Okay. Is this question about hockey? Who asked this question? Who asked this question? All right. I grew up in Windsor, so therefore, I grew up watching the Detroit Red Wings. Actually, the Red Wings, not Leaf them. My lifetime, I've seen the Red Wings win 4 Stanley Cups. So, Toronto teams suck, Vancouver teams suck, Detroit, those are the real champs. Okay. The next question is from Sheikh Abdurrahmann. What is worship? You say the purpose is to worship God. How are you supposed to worship? Is it just praying?
It's an interesting question. I mean, worship in Islam is not simply praying. See, like, we live our lives according to the law that God has given us. Everything that we do in the course of our life, getting up in the morning, eating your breakfast, exercising, taking a walk, these are all classified as acts of worship when they're intended to please God. So let's say you got up in the morning, had a breakfast at Denny's or wherever else, and you're intending to kind of, give yourself that strength and energy to continue throughout the entire day without getting fatigued or tired. That would be an act of worship. So worship is very versatile because Islam is not simply a religion where we worship in the mosque 5 times a day, but rather it's a way of life. So everything within the course of your life is an act of worship. The interesting thing is, I know many cultures, when we look at marriage, before I got married, there's a brother who came up to me in the mosque. He told me that, you're making a mistake, but this mistake you've got to make. You have no choice. I said, what do you mean? He said, this is what we call the golden prison. Likewise, these kind of interesting but odd analogies. But in reality, in Islam, marriage is an act of worship. From day one to the very last day of your life. Every moment that you spend with your wife is an act of worship. So to us, it's the longest, most continuous act of worship in the course of your life. So everything can be classified as an act of worship in Islam.
Okay, the next question I'll take it is, what is Iman? It's my favorite topic. Iman is another level of Islam. As there's Islam, there's Iman, and then there's Ihsan. The scholars of Islam, they've said, Al-Imanu qawlun bil-lisan. So you learned a new word for our non-Muslim friends. The tongue, the Arabic is lisan. وَتَصْدِيقًا بِالْقَلْبِ. What actually go ahead? I see. تَصْدِيقًا بِالْقَلْبِ وَعَمْلُ بِالْجَوَارِحِ. That Iman, belief, true belief, it's a statement that is on the tongue. I believe in Allah, amantu billah. Then it's pronounced on the tongue, it is believed firmly in the heart, and it is acted upon the body limbs through the practices of the 5 pillars of Islam. This is Iman in a nutshell. As the scholars said, Al-Iman yazid bi ta'atillah wa yanqus bi ma'siyatillah. That Iman, faith, it grows with the obedience to God, and it decreases with the disobedience to God. Shaykh, you want to add anything to that? Okay. The next question is, what do you consider religious? Is there a such thing as being half religious or partially religious? That's what I don't answer the tough questions. Because I'll look stupid.
Over here, when it comes to what is religious, like I said, it's not, if you're looking at Islam as a religion, where you just pray 5 times a day, and then after that you can take maybe call it quits, that's not the way we look at Islam. Islam is a way of life. So, although you have people who are part-timers in work, you have people who are full-time. A Muslim is not a part-time or even a full-time, it's an all-time, 24/7. Everything that we do in the course of our lives has a reference in the laws of Islam, A to Z. So, as a true Muslim, let me say it like this, a true Muslim is one who really upholds Islam throughout the course of his life. It has a reference to everything. But you got people today who say that they're 5%ers or 10%ers, people who just take a certain part of Islam and uphold that certain one aspect and that's it. This is not correct. A person like that is, ignorant or not true religious in general.
I'll take the next question. Actually, I prepared something here about, but I didn't get a chance to get to it. The question is, if God is all powerful, why did He create us for the sole purpose of worshiping? So the answer is here. Okay, good.
I have a question.
I'm going to take your question. Yeah.
Is cremation against God's?
I think that question is here.
Yeah, I just wanted you.
I was going to send it to him. Actually, for us, I'll say this and Shaq can add to it. For me, I don't sit and judge, or I don't sit and try to refute other people's beliefs. I know what I want, and I'm happy with what I want. As for other people that have different beliefs, then that's for them. So I can't really say that in Islam, cremation is something that is actually frowned upon, as we believe, that naturally you don't need to be burnt up until there's more ashes, that eventually your body will just be eaten by maggots and it will turn to dust and it won't go out away when that happens. That's a harsh answer, but that's what I told my kids. Did I answer your question? purpose of life is to worship Allah, one God, and one God only. How do you tell someone to worship a God that is all-knowing and has the power to grant each individual heaven or hell, but still allows some to spend eternity in hell? I'm sorry if this question is confusing.
With this, I mean, no doubt, we believe God created us to worship Him. Let me just give you an example and we can take it from there. Let's say you're hired for a job in a grocery shop. And you're hired $15, $20 an hour, and your boss told you, listen, you only have one duty in the entire shop. You don't do anything else. And you signed a contract that you'll be a cashier, and you have nothing else to do. So let's say you've gone now, first day at work, and you didn't sit at the till. Instead, you were stocking shelves. Second day, you went and started mopping the floors. The third day, you went and started doing other jobs within the shop. And now you come back at the end of the month, and your boss tells you, listen, you're not going to get nothing. You're not going to get paid, because we had an agreement that you are the cashier. Now that you have not done or fulfilled your end, we can't give you exactly what we agreed upon. God has given us laws that we live our life by. If we live our lives by that code, by that law, we'll live a very blissful life in this world, and also in the afterlife. We believe that we'll be rewarded with an everlasting bliss. But if we disobey God's command in this life, you may have from God respite. He'll give you chance after chance after chance to come back, to repent, to turn. But if you die in that state where you're disobedient to God, then in the end, you'll be punished. That's what we believe as Muslims. You can't say God is unjust for punishing someone who's disobeyed His commands. We don't question God. God is beyond question. لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. We'll be questioned for what we've done, but then God will not be questioned in the least. For He's the Creator. He decrees whatever He decrees. And we know that whatever He's decreed is with, complete wisdom and justice.
The last question is, drum roll. Are you sure we don't have another intermission now? That's the last question. You want to take it to overtime, take a break, eat some muffins, and then come back? If somebody, if someone, if some person, if some he or some she wanted to become a Muslim, how do they do it? What is required to become a Muslim? This question will leave
It's quite simple, actually. I mean, it's, I think, one of the most easiest things. All you have to do is profess your faith. In Arabic or in English. In Arabic, you say, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Or you say, I believe that there's no God worthy of worship but Allah, and that Muhammad is the last prophet and messenger of God. You say that with statement with belief, you enter into Islam. You become Muslim. You don't have to announce it to anyone. It can be a secret between you and God. There's no reason to go out and tell people or tell the world. People sometimes get concerned about that. They want to keep it to themselves. Keep it to yourself. There's no problem in that. So you can begin in this way, keep it to yourself, and later on when you feel a bit more stronger, you can tell whoever you want.
Anybody want to be a Muslim? Anybody want to learn more about Islam? Okay. Who here thinks that Muslims are cool? Who wants to know more about why Muslims are cool? Really, in actuality, as Sheikh Abdurrahmann said, when I became a Muslim, I was a little bit concerned that the Muslims were going to take me to some big, huge pot, put my body in there, mix my bones around, and say, you're a Muslim. I was scared. I didn't know what they were going to do. I was scared that they were going to say, and I used to watch a lot of Eddie Murphy movies, and we used to make a lot of fun of the Arabs. And he used to say, So I figured I'd have to, all kinds of words, right? I didn't know what to expect. So I used to go to these meetings, and I used to attend a lot of meetings and ask a lot of questions. A lot of the classes after a while, they used to kick me out because my questions were like really tough. So I went to an Afghan ship who was tough himself from Afghanistan. Very tough guys, very strong. There are lots of boys that have about 10 kids, so really strong. He said to me, I'm talking physically strong. I'm talking push-ups. He can do 600 push-ups. See, you guys got some different minds. That's not right. I'm talking about physicality. He's strong. He can lift weights. He can run. You know, he used to be, I think, the champion grenade launcher in Afghanistan. Strong. He can wrestle. I wrestled him one time and he beat me. Anyways, he said to me, why don't you consider Islam? I said, I want to be Muslim, but I don't know what to do. He said, just repeat after me. Ashhadu. Anybody want to repeat after me? Ashhadu. Ashhadu. An la ilaha illallah. Wa anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. So the Sheikh said that there is nothing worthy of worship except for Allah, the Almighty, the All-Powerful, the All-Hearing, the All-Knowing, the All-Seeing, the All-Wise, the First, the Last. These are some of His attributes. Okay? And that Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who in the media right now, a lot of people are speaking bad about our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon them, but that just gives me an opportunity to come now and tell everybody a little bit about the Prophet Muhammad. So I thank them for that free advertisement. That we bear witness that Muhammad is the final messenger. And as for myself, I have a very extensive Arabic library. And I pride myself. I go to a lot of board Muslims' houses, and they say, brother, look how big my ceiling is, and look how huge my house is, and my car is so big and so massive. And I go, mashallah. I say, brother, let me see your Islamic library. They have the Quran on it, it's got dust on it. I say, come to my house. I say, I have a very old car. It's not that big. I have a very, very small house with a few rooms, very few possessions. But look at my Islamic library, it's huge, it's from wall to wall. I broke down, I think, maybe 10 different IKEA bookshelves. They can't hold my books. Because I'm thirsty for knowledge. I want to learn the equation of life. What is the purpose of life? That's my lifelong goal. To understand it, to actualize it, to practice it, to live it. And as we said before, to die upon what I believe to be the truth, that when I die and I'm resurrected, and when I come in front of the Almighty, and He has everybody from the beginning of creation to the end of creation, and He asks me, how did you live your life? What did you do? And I hope I can say, God, I did my best to try to worship You to the best of my capability. I was a sinner, but I believe You. So I believe that that is really the essence of what Islam is that you live your life to the best of your ability, submitting to God, and then when you stand in front of Him, let me ask you guys a question. The guy who just won the UFC the other day, what's his name, Jim Jones? What's the guy's name? He beat up somebody, he's undefeated, right? What's his name? John Jones, okay. So what about Mike Tyson? Anybody want to face Mike Tyson? Now he probably could punch you out, right? But now imagine all the former warriors in the world. You'd be scared to stand them one-on-one in the ring. But now imagine you're going to go in front of the Almighty, and you're going to be arrogant while you're breathing His air, while you're living on His earth, while He's giving you food and drink and nourishment, and at any time He can take your life with a mosquito biting you and you getting it. It's not the East Nile virus, is it? It's the West Nile virus, and you can die like that. So the reality is, friends, brothers, sisters, this is a question that, you know, the purpose of life, it's not one that you just think about it today. Oh, that's a nice lecture, I heard about it. Well, let me go watch the movies now because, what's that new movie coming out? I heard Loopers or something like that. Where the guy can come back into the past and shoot himself and fight, something like this, right? What's the next movie? I need to be entertained. No, life is not about entertainment. So that's what I wanted to say. I hope I didn't say too much. That is for the heart.
We would like to conclude now. Thank you for attending the Purpose of Life, a Simple Truth. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to approach us after we conclude. You can also visit our booth exhibit at the Student Union Building, main concourse, tomorrow between 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Jazakallah khair for coming and giving us this innovative lecture. Here's a token of appreciation from us.
As for the brothers and sisters, inshallah, I will be giving the Jumu'ah Khutbah here tomorrow at the university, so those that want to hear something positive about putting together a nice portfolio, I encourage you to come tomorrow, inshallah.
If you have any further questions, you're welcome to come down and ask the scholars, or if you want any more information about Islam, you're welcome to ask.
Yeah, it was a great event. I really enjoyed the speakers. I think as a non-Muslim, I think if you want to, I'm a non-Muslim, and I think if you want to learn about Islam, the best way to do it is actually go to Muslims, so you make sure you're not getting a biased perspective of things, and that's what I'm trying to do. And not only the speakers, I actually met a lot of cool guys in the audience, and I'm going to meet up with them later and discuss Islam with them, and it's fantastic. And thank you guys for setting us up. I appreciate that.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Even though the topic of today's lecture was very simple, the purpose of life, and being a Muslim myself, I have practiced the same purpose, and I have also tried to internalize the same concept within myself. This lecture served as a reminder for me. Being a Muslim, it served as a reminder for me. It increased my iman, it inspired me, and I believe, even though I consider myself a practicing Muslim, I believe such basic lectures, talks, keep on building the foundation of a perfect Muslim and the attributes of our Prophet, which we are ever struggling to achieve.